Okay, let's talk a little bit about screen capture with OBS. What is screen capture? Screen capture is essentially what you're looking at right now. I put together a presentation on my computer. I go through that presentation on the computer, and some piece of software is capturing the computer screen, the computer audio, my microphone, stitching it all together and putting it into a video output file, or if necessary, streaming it out to a streaming service like YouTube. I use OBS to do this. OBS stands for Open Broadcasting System, and it is a free open source software project that um, is for recording and live streaming. Um, this software is capable of receiving video and audio from various sources, stitching them together into a single output, and saving the result either on your computer in a video file or streaming it out to YouTube. Great thing about it is it runs on Windows, Linux, and Mac. Um, and I'm using it on Windows, and I'm only really familiar with it on Windows, but I'm hoping and I'm pretty sure that the behavior is somewhat similar on both the Linux and Mac platforms. In order to use OBS, of course, you're going to have to go download and install, OBS. You're going to have to go download and install it. Let me go to this link here. So go to the link, and this takes you to the main OBS webpage. Again, free to download. Pick one of these three choices depending on the platform that you're using, and follow the installation instructions. Once you have downloaded it, of course, you've got to configure it. I'm going to stop here and switch over to a video camera recording of my desktop because it's extremely challenging to talk about setting up video capture software while using that video capture software. So I'm going to insert that here. Okay, one of the challenges of doing a screen capture about screen capture software is it's hard to kind of work with the screen capture software and do the screen capture at the same time. So for this segment, I'm going to walk you through just the basic configuration of OBS using a video camera that I have pointed at my screen. Let's launch OBS. And what we have is what appears to be a total mess right now, and that's because OBS is showing me a preview of the screen that it's currently capturing, which gives us this sort of massive feedback loop. Don't worry about how messy this looks. We can still work with it, and it's not hurting anything to have this sort of infinite regress on the screen. When you launch OBS, this is typically what it looks like. We've got the sources down here, the audio inputs here, and the various controls over here. Now, when you start it, there are three kinds of sources that we're mostly concerned with in OBS, and at least for our purposes of screen capturing and streaming. You want to tell OBS which monitors to access. And by monitors, I mean computer screens. Most people have one computer screen. I on this setup, have two computer screens. You want to tell it which video cameras to access. If you want to include a little rectangle in the upper right-hand corner that maybe has your face in it. And finally, you want to tell it what microphones to access. Do you want it to use an external microphone? Do you want it to use the built-in microphone? And furthermore, if you're playing a video during your presentation, do you want it to capture the audio output from that video? So those are all things that we might care about. I have a few sort of things randomly scattered around here. Let me get rid of a couple of them. So I'm going to get rid of my second monitor. Are you sure you want to remove the second monitor? Yes. So you see that that second monitor, which was in this rectangle in the upper left-hand corner, has disappeared. Let's say I'll get rid of my external webcam also. So I click external webcam, I hit the minus sign. Do I want to get rid of that? Yes, and now that rectangle's gone in the upper right corner. I have a couple of other things that are sitting here. Let me get rid of this other external monitor. Yes. Right now, I'm just capturing the main display. I've, let's see, I've got the headphone mic, which I'm currently not using. And that's it. I like to have a little window in the upper right-hand corner that shows me talking, so students kind of see that I'm there and see what I'm doing. So let's add that. And I want that to come from a video capture device like a webcam. And I'm going to name it, give it a meaningful name like external webcam. Hit OK, and a secondary window is going to appear and ask you to choose which of the many webcams that are available do you want to use. And I happen to know that my external webcam is this third one, Logitech HD webcam. So I click on that, I hit OK, and up pops this rectangle. The next step is to put this rectangle where you want it to appear in the final product. I like this to appear in the upper right hand corner, so I kind of gently move it over to the right, and I like it to be a little bit smaller, so I grab the lower left corner and kind of shrink it down a little bit. There are other things that you might want to do. Desktop audio is here. You should make sure that's sort of just default. Leave that one alone if you plan on showing videos and you want the audio from that video to be transmitted into the final product. If you want to use other microphones, you can do that. If you want to use other displays, so another microphone would be an audio input capture. Another screen would be a display capture, and you can see there are many kinds of input devices that you can add to this. Personally, I've only used the video capture device for webcams, the display capture for entire screens, and audio input capture for microphones. And then this desktop audio is there by default. Leave it there and leave it on if you want to capture desktop audio. If you're worried about desktop audio, like notifications that might come in, and you're not going to use it for other purposes, you can just click mute and it will turn off the desktop audio. When you've got things configured and you've got your preview screen set up the way you want, you can just click start recording, and down here you see a clock ticking with the length of the recording. The button turns to stop recording, and you can click this again to stop the recording. If somebody comes and knocks at your door, you can hit pause. You can go answer the door. You see down here that the recording is paused. And when you're finished, come back, click pause again to resume the recording. And don't forget to do that. It's an easy thing to forget. Luckily, I'm just doing this with a camera that's pointed at the screen, so I don't have to worry about that in particular. The camera's been recording the whole time. When you're finished with your presentation, click Stop Recording, and you can close OBS because it is a bit of a resource hog. It does use a lot of computer resources. You can close it. You don't need it anymore. It has dumped a video file somewhere on your computer. If you're using Windows, that video file is appropriately placed in the videos folder, and it's named after the date and the time of the recording. Today is June 15th, and it's about 10 o'clock, so it's probably this one. And this is the video file that you want to go ahead and edit, clean up if necessary, and then post wherever you're planning to post it. So you've seen how to configure OBS by choosing and arranging the various video sources and then choosing the audio sources and then recording. Once you've got it configured, it's time to record a session. Before you actually hit the record button, you want to make sure that you prepare your desktop. Close all the windows that you won't be using during the recording. Open all the windows that you will be using for your recording. Um, Another tip that's really helpful is to use browser profiles if you're using a browser as part of your presentation. I use Firefox mostly as my day-to-day browser, and you can see this is my personal Firefox. And for example, I see my Facebook tab is open, and there's maybe even a notification here, and here's my Gmail, and other things that might appear that maybe are private in nature or a distraction. So what I recommend that folks do is create a special browser profile, and in Firefox, you can access that browser profile by typing About Profiles in the URL bar, hit Enter, and what appears is this behind the scenes screen that lets you define an entirely separate browser profile. I have a classroom profile that I use for presentations, and when I launch that, I get a new browser that I've already populated with bookmarks relative to the class, or relevant to the class, excuse me. And I'll go back to the other browser, which is my personal browser, and close it. And now I'm ready to do my presentation. In Chrome, it's a little bit different. Let me pull up Chrome. So Chrome doesn't do About Profiles. Instead, you go up here to the upper right corner and you click on the account icon, and this window appears. And down here at the bottom, you have a list of essentially what are profiles for this browser. And if you want to create a profile, click Add, and maybe call it Presentation. Choose an icon that you like, presentation profile. I'll choose a penguin. I click Add. And what I get is a brand new instance of Chrome with no personal information. I can add bookmarks that are associated with the presentation and proceed from there. And if I'm doing a class where I'm doing screen capture regularly, it's definitely worth your while to create a profile specifically for the class. So that's Chrome. There are other browsers out there. Search for profile management or something related to your specific browser. As I mentioned in the previous, in the screen capture where I was using the video camera pointed at the computer, click Start Recording and wait a couple of seconds, settle yourself, and then begin your presentation. Run through the presentation, stop recording. The resulting video file will be in the videos folder if you're on Windows, in other places if you're on Mac. Edit the recording and then post the recording on Canvas or YouTube or wherever when you're finished.